Soundproofing your air ducts. Soundproofing your HVAC system and your air ducts, yes, it is possible to do it with existing units, and also if you're building your home or you're just changing, you're renovating and you want to build a soundproof room, there is a way that the material that you use can make it much quieter than it is right now. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. And also last week's video, it was all about how to soundproof the AC unit outside. And this video is what can you do to minimize the noise transfer all throughout the home with these air ducts system, the HVAC system. So let's get started. First thing, if you are in the building process or you are renovating that you can change the existing ductwork, you can access it, then it's good to do so, because the type of air ducts in this house are rectangular, bigger air ducts. What you want to use is a round air duct, because the rectangular air ducts, there is going to be more turbulence in the air flowing through. One thing, however, using round air ducts, make sure that they are large air ducts, because one thing with smaller air ducts is going to push the air a lot faster. What happens is, if the air is pushed faster, you're going to have more whistling noise, and it's just going to make more wind noise, and which can create also vibrational noise. So it's not just the noise that you can hear of the wind or the whistling inside the air duct, it's also the vibrational noise that is going through your house. So with a smaller round air duct or rectangular air duct, the velocity of the air flowing through is going to be more like 300 feet per minute. Well, you want to reduce that by around 100 feet per minute. That is what you can do by increasing the size of your air ducts. Now, if you can't change the air ducts, it's already installed and there's nothing that you can do, and your air ducts are a little bit smaller and there is a lot of velocity going through or a lot of turbulence, and it's making the actual air duct shake, then you're wondering, how can I reduce that vibration from the air ducts flowing up my ceiling? Well, as you can see on this one, these are just regular brackets that most people will use in their homes to install the air duct systems. And all it does, all the vibration is going right into the joist and going all throughout your home. What you can do to minimize that vibration or eliminate it, if you can access your air duct system with an open ceiling, you can change those brackets, but just be careful to change just one at a time. And what these types of brackets do, they create a gap between the air duct and the joist. So all the vibration is going to just stay in the air duct and not go over into the joist, into your home, and into the structure. Another way to minimize that vibration, if you can't install any of those brackets because of, let's say, the way that these air ducts are installed, it doesn't give me that much room to work. However, if you have some air ducts that you do have the room and that you can install them, since you have a lot of vibrational noise going through the structure, it's advisable to do so. But if you can't install them, you're wondering, okay, well, how can I minimize that vibration? How can I minimize that vibrational noise? Well, I have something somewheres right here. Some people would tell you sometimes to wrap mass-loaded vinyl around the air ducts, which does work, but most of the mass-loaded vinyls, they come in a roll. It's a thick rubber-like material. It's very heavy, and it does work well at blocking and absorbing noise. But most of them are not self-adhesive, and that can make it tricky to have it actually stick onto the air duct. So, car sound deadening material is one thing that works very well. And you might be wondering, well, if it's a heating system and not a cooling system, is this going to melt? Well, let me tell you, this is specifically for under the hood of a vehicle. You know, a few inches from the engine that can overheat. So a sound deadening material like that for vehicles would be a good idea to put on the air ducts. And what this does, it will absorb a lot of that vibrational noise. And also, if you have a lot of turbulence in the air ducts, and it's not just vibrational noise, you have airborne noise where it's just the air flowing through the air ducts because it's at a higher speed, then this will actually help blocking that noise as well. Just make sure that you wrap the entirety of the air ducts to minimize that airborne noise, but the structural noise, if you can just reach a small portion of it, you might be surprised at how much vibration is reduced by just adding some self-adhesive sound deadening material that is made for vehicles. Another thing that you can do if your ceiling is exposed and you can make some minor changes to the ductwork, one thing is to avoid right angle bends. What this does, it creates more turbulence and it creates more noise. And if you have them close to the room that you're trying to soundproof, then you'll have more noise flowing right through the vents. One thing that you can do if you have access to those air ducts and you can make changes, if that right angle bend is close to your air vent in the room that you want to have less noise flowing through, you can make the change of placing that right angle bend further away from that room. And that will decrease the noise flowing through that air vent. So if you are going to make the changes, just make sure to place it at least 5 to 10 feet away from the air vent. I would go more 10 feet because 5 isn't that far with that right angle bend. So go between 10 feet and 15 feet if at all possible. If it's a whole room that has exposed ventilation system, then you can make that changes. Just basically tell the air duct technician that is going to go do the work for you. If you're not going to be doing it by yourself, just explain to him what you're trying to do and why you're trying to eliminate noise, and then they'll understand what they need to do on their end. If, however, you can't really access your air ducts and there is noise going into the room that you're trying to soundproof, one thing that you can build is a baffle box, also called a sound maze. Now, as you can see, what this looks like, it looks like a little maze. What you would have to do is you would have to change that existing ductwork from, if it's a metal duct piping, to a more flexible duct piping, and that will allow it to go through the maze. Now, this maze works in two ways. One way, what it does, it will slow down the air because of all those turns inside the maze, which will quiet down the air flowing into your room. Now, the other thing that it does, it also soundproofs that wall. Because what you want to do inside that sound maze, you want to add some sound deadening material to deaden that noise that is coming through. So you're not only changing the amount of air flowing through, you're also deadening the noise and blocking some of that noise by adding some sound deadening material. I'll have a link in the description below that shows you how to effectively build a sound maze or a baffle box. And also I'll have links of all the materials that I recommend to make your air ducts a lot quieter. Another thing that you can do it sounds quite obvious, but having the air handling unit, having your furnace, whatever's making the noise, whatever's creating that either hot air or cold air, you want that as far away as you can from your soundproof room or your living area. And obviously, that is only kind of possible in the building stage. So if it's already there, if it's already affixed inside a room, one thing that you can do if the adjoining room is your media room or a bedroom. So what you can do is soundproof the room that the air handling unit is in so the noise doesn't go through as bad in the other room. It's not that complicated to soundproof the room. In this room, there's basically only two walls that is not an exterior wall. So there will only be two walls to essentially soundproof. First thing, if the walls inside the air handling unit is unfinished, you can add something over the electrical outlets or the light switches, because these electrical boxes, they have a lot of holes, and if it's all open, there's nothing really stopping the noise from the unit going through those holes in that little electrical box and into the room through the electrical outlet or the light switches. What you can use is quite an inexpensive product called putty pads. I actually made a video a couple of weeks ago. You can check the link right here, where I did a sound test on how these things works before and after, and it is quite impressive of the noise reduction for something that costs around $5 to $7 each pad. Now, these pads were made for fire prevention. If there was a short or something, a freak accident inside that box that caused a fire, this will basically try to contain it for as long as possible. But another thing that it does, it blocks all of those holes and it minimizes the amount of noise flowing from this room into that room. So that's one thing that you can add. Another thing is adding some insulation onto the wall. You don't have to add some sound deadening insulation, but if it's just a small room, sound deadening insulation like rock wool, it is more dense, it is more heavy, and it will deaden a little bit more noise than just your pink fiberglass insulation. But if you already have pink fiberglass insulation, I wouldn't bother going ahead and changing it. Just leave it as is and add drywall, enclose the interior wall, and if it is already enclosed, then add a second layer of drywall. Preferably 5/8" drywall, because that drywall is heavier, it's thicker, it's more dense, and it will block more noise. And the difference of price between 1/2" drywall, what you would typically have in most homes on the walls, and 5/8", it's not that difference in cost, so it is recommended just to add an extra layer of drywall, something thicker that will block this amount of noise going into the next room. And if you are dealing with a lot of noise and you can't really afford to change the entire air handling unit just yet, then adding 2 layers of drywall will help even more. All you need to do is, if you have some of these outlets, then you just have to have an outlet extender and then you're good to go. Just make sure that if you're adding anything, even putty pads onto the electrical outlets, just make sure to shut off the power going into these outlets right from the breaker. You never know, things can happen. It's better to be safe than electrocuted. So what do you think? Which method is best for you? Let me know in the comment section below, and also don't forget to watch this video if your AC unit is making a ton of noise. I was very surprised because I took a sound test in the beginning and I took a sound test in the end, and I did something to that air handling or AC unit that is completely free that you can do at home, and it's not just tightening the bolts. It's whatever comes after. It decreased the noise by half. It was quite a spectacular scene. So go watch that. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time. Assuming that you subscribed, of course.